A friend of mine recently received this book, which was published in 2003. At the time, Ferrari were the strongest team on the grid, Red Bull and Mercedes Formula 1 teams didn't exist, Fernando Alonso had recently completed his 33rd F1 race, and Liam Lawson was 2 years old. The book is filled with some interesting information, including some very interesting takes on female drivers, but the part I want to take a look at is the part near the end, called Top 10 Future Stars of Formula 1. So, with 20 years of hindsight, let's take a look at who the rising stars of motorsport were in 2003 and ask the question, what happened to them? Number 1. Justin Wilson. When this book came out, Justin Wilson had just completed his rookie season in F1, which started at Minardi before moving to Jaguar at the 12th race of the season. He would score just 1 point at the USA Grand Prix in Indianapolis. Wilson would only ever compete in that one F1 season, when Jaguar chose to drop him for Red Bull-funded Christian Klein for the 2004 season. Wilson would make the move to America to compete in the Champs Car World Series from 2004 to 2007, winning 4 races and coming second in the championship in 2006 and 2007 before moving to IndyCar in 2008, where he would win the Detroit Grand Prix in his rookie year, and he would win 2 more races in his IndyCar career before he sadly passed away at age 37 after a crash in 2015. Number 2. Felipe Massa. Felipe had his debut F1 season in 2002 with the Sauber team before getting dropped for the 2003 season, but then returning to Sauber for 2004. He would stay with Sauber for 3 seasons before leaving to join the Ferrari team in 2006, where he would get his first win at the Turkish Grand Prix. The high point of his career was becoming the 2008 Formula 1 World Champion for 30 seconds before Lewis Hamilton overtook Glock on the final lap of the final race of the year. Massa would win that race though, and this would be his final ever F1 win. In 2009, he would suffer a huge crash during a practice session for the Hungarian Grand Prix after a spring fell out the back of Rubens Barrichello's Brawn and hit Massa on the head. Massa would return to F1 at the start of the 2010 season with a second place in Bahrain, and he would stay with the Ferrari team until 2014, where he would join the Williams team, who he would stay with until he retired at the end of the 2016 season, before coming back to the Williams team just 5 months later to compete in the 2017 season, retiring again at the end of that season. In his F1 career, he competed in the 6th most F1 races ever, with 269 races to his name, winning 11 of them and having 41 podiums. Massa would also compete in Formula E for 2 seasons, the highlight being a 3rd place at the 2019 Monaco E-Prix. Massa is currently competing though in the Complete Stock Car Pro Series, as well as competing in the courts, where he's trying to get the result of the 2008 F1 World Championship overturned. Number 3. Gary Paffett. Gary Paffett spent a lot of his career in German touring cars, also known as DTM, where he would win the championship in 2005 before leaving the series to become a full-time test driver for McLaren in the 2006 season. He was also in contention for the McLaren seat in 2007, but Lewis Hamilton was picked over him. Paffett was released from his contract in October of 2006, but then re-signed a couple weeks later. Paffett would return to DTM in 2007, whilst also fulfilling his duties for the McLaren team. Paffett was connected to new F1 team ProDrive for the 2008 season, but that team never made it to the grid. Paffett also signed as a reserve driver for Force India in 2012 and would leave McLaren in 2014. He would then join Williams as a simulator driver for 2016. Paffett would win the DTM Championship for the 2nd time in 2018, and then would once again leave the series, but this time to join Formula E for 1 season, the highlight of which being 2 8th place finishes, before retiring and joining the Mercedes Formula E team in a management role. Paffett would finish his career with 0 Formula 1 races, but he does have the joint 4th most DTM championships with 2 and the joint 3rd most DTM wins with 23, as well as the 3rd most DTM podiums with 46. Number 4. Heikki Kovalainen. Kovalainen would be signed as a test driver for the Renault F1 team in 2004, and he would finish second in the standings in his rookie season in GP2, just being beaten by Nico Rosberg. He would make his F1 debut in 2007 with the Renault team, replacing leaving Fernando Alonso, the highlight of that season being a second place finish at the Japanese Grand Prix. But for 2008, Kovalainen would join McLaren, replacing the leaving Fernando Alonso. He would also get his first and only win of his F1 career, and he would finish the season 7th in the driver's standings, whilst his teammate Lewis Hamilton would win the title and win 5 races. He would stay with McLaren for one more season before getting dropped for the 2009 world champion Jenson Button. He would join the Lotus team for the 2010 season, where he would stay for 3 years, with a highest finish of 12th place at the 2010 Japanese Grand Prix. In 2012, the Lotus team would be rebranded as Caterham, and this would be Kovalainen's final year with the team. Further up the grid, the Renault team had been rebranded too, and they were now Lotus. Kovalainen would make a return to F1 in late 2013, filling in for Kimi Räikkönen, who was suffering from back pain after carrying the Lotus team for 2 years. In the USA Grand Prix, his teammate would finish second, whilst Kovalainen would finish 14th, and he would make it 2 14ths in a row at the final race of the year, which would be his final ever F1 race. In a cruel twist of fate, 14th place for Kovalainen was a higher finishing position than either of his former team Caterham's drivers were able to achieve all year, which meant, despite only competing in 2 races all year, he would beat both Caterham drivers in the championship. He finished his F1 career with 111 race starts, 1 race win and 4 podiums. Kovalainen would join Super GT in 2015 and would win the championship in 2016. He would continue to compete in Super GT until 2021, getting occasional wins. This year though, he has competed in 1 race in Extreme E for Jenson Button's team. Number 5. Neil Janney. Neil Janney became the 3rd driver for Toro Rosso in 2015, which is a position he held for a year. He was also carried to the test driver role for Red Bull, BMW Sauber and Force India all between 2008 and 2010, but none of those positions ever came to fruition. He would take part in the A1 GP World Cup of Motorsports representing his home nation of Switzerland and would win that championship in 2008. He would make his debut at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2009, which is a race he has competed in 13 times over the last 14 years, winning it in 2016 with the Porsche team and coming second in 2021 and 2023. The win in 2016 would also go towards the World Endurance Championship that he won with the Porsche team that year. Like many others on this list, he's also competed in Formula E, finishing with just 1 points finish from 13 races. Although his F1 journey may not be over, as it was announced that he'll be a simulator driver for the Audi team to help develop their engine for the 2026 season. So in total, he had 0 F1 races, but he is a 24 Hour of Le Mans winner and a World Endurance Champion. Number 6. Nico Rosberg. Rosberg arrived at the motorsports scene with a lot of hype as the son of 1982 Formula 1 world champion Keke Rosberg. He was the GP2 Series champion in 2005 and would make his F1 debut the next year with the Williams team, the team his father had won the title with 24 years earlier. He would stay with Williams until the end of 2009, highlights being 2 podiums in the 2008 season, his first podium being shared with Lewis Hamilton, who had been his teammate in go-karting, and they were close friends. The two would be best friends forever. For the 2010 season, Rosberg joined the newly formed Mercedes team, who had been the Brawn GP team the previous year when they'd won both championships. His teammate would be the 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher, who was coming out of retirement after 4 years. Despite the Mercedes not being on the same level as the Brawn of the previous year, this was still Rosberg's most successful year thus far in his career, with 3 podiums and 142 points across the season. He would also beat Schumacher in the standings, who could only manage 72 points. In 2012, Rosberg would get his first win at the Chinese Grand Prix, and at the end of the year, Schumacher would announce his second retirement after Rosberg had beaten him in all 3 years with them as teammates. His replacement would be Rosberg's best friend for life, Lewis Hamilton. Rosberg would get 2 more wins in the 2013 season, but in 2014 the Mercedes would turn from occasional winner to out-and-out favourite, and Nico and Lewis would enter one of the most fierce rivalries between teammates in modern Formula 1 history. In 2014, Rosberg would get 5 wins and 11 podiums, but would have to settle for second in the championship to teammate Hamilton. And in 2015, Rosberg would make it 6 wins and be runner-up to Hamilton again. But in 2016, Rosberg won 9 races and would take the championship at the final race of the year from Lewis Hamilton. Despite signing a 2-year contract extension midway through the 2016 season, 5 days after winning the championship, Nico Rosberg would announce his retirement. Unlike many other drivers who've retired from Formula 1, Rosberg would not make any other appearances in any racing series since his Formula 1 retirement, and is now a Monaco-based YouTube vlogger. Rosberg has a total of 23 wins, 30 pole positions, and 57 podiums, and of course, the 2016 Formula 1 World Championship. Number 7. Nelson Piquet Jr. And from one son of a world champion to another, Nelson Piquet Jr., the son of 3-time Formula 1 world champion Nelson Piquet. Piquet Jr. would win the British Formula 3 Championship in 2004 and make his debut in GP2 in 2005. He was mentioned as a potential name to take the Williams seat in 2006, but this would go to Nico Rosberg, and Piquet would have to compete in GP2 for 2006, finishing second behind Lewis Hamilton. In 2007, he would become the reserve driver for Renault and would make his F1 debut in 2008. Only finishing in 9 of the 18 races he would compete in, with the highlight being a second place at the German Grand Prix. The lowlight being deliberately crashing at the Singapore Grand Prix in order to bring out the safety car and help teammate Fernando Alonso win the race in one of the biggest cheating scandals in the history of Formula 1, also known as Crashgate. Piquet would be let go from Renault halfway through the 2009 season, after which Piquet made the secrets of Crashgate public. After this, he would never race in Formula 1 again, with no team wanting to sign him. He would have some random appearances in NASCAR, with 1 win in the Xfinity Series and a couple wins in the Truck Series. He would also become the first ever Formula E World Champion, and would also compete and have a couple wins in the Stock Car Pro Series. Number 8. Bjorn Woodheim. Bjorn would win the Formula 3000 series in 2003, driving for Christian Horner's Arden team, dominating the series so much that towards the end they introduced an obligatory pit stop for all drivers. This was in order to try and level the advantage he had, but this did not work. At the Monaco GP of that year, Bjorn slowed down to wave to his pit crew as he crossed the line to win, but got overtaken meters before the line and would finish second.
In fact, slows by his pit. He slowed too early. There's the checkered flag. I can't believe that. He slowed as he was approaching the checkered flag. I'm not sure if the teams and the pits could see that and if they realise what's happened, but I think Nicolas Chiesa has won the race. It's just dawning on Christian Horner, and that is Bjorn Woodheim's father in the pink shirt. And now the Denbla Avis team have realised their man, Nicolas Chiesa, has indeed won the race.
He would also have tests for Jordan and BAR, and would become the 3rd driver for Jaguar during the 2004 season. This would be as close as he would ever get to the F1 world, as he'd never make an F1 race start. He would go on to race in Super GT from 2006 to 2019, finishing second in the championship in 2013 and 14. He would win the European Le Mans Series in 2015, and he is now a commentator and pundit for Swedish media. Number 9. AJ Allmendinger. Now this is a bit of a strange one for the book to say, because AJ is an American driver who, from what I can see, has never competed in a single race in Europe. He won the Dodge Pro Series in 2002, which is an American open wheel racing series. He would win the Toyota Atlantic Championship in 2003. He would then compete in Champ Car World Series between 2004 and 2006, where in 2005 his teammate would be fellow top 10 future stars of F1 from 2003 2003 list member Justin Wilson. Now, my knowledge of American motorsport feeder series is lacking a bit, but in what seems like quite a strange move after having a pretty successful career thus far in open wheel racing, he moved to NASCAR Cup racing in 2006, where he still competes. Other highlights of his career are a third place finish in the Daytona 500 and winning the 24 Hours of Daytona in 2012. He also does commentary and punditry for NBC. And finally, number 10, Lewis Hamilton. Now, you might have heard of this guy. He seems to have been a thorn in the side of many other drivers on this list. Hamilton would win the GP2 series in his rookie year in 2006, beating Nelson Piquet Jr., who finished second. He would then make his F1 debut for McLaren in 2007, just beating Gary Paffett to the seat, where he would almost win the F1 World Championship in his rookie year, missing out by 1 point to Kimi Räikkönen. He would win the title though in 2008 when Heikki Kovalainen was his teammate, much to the shock of the family of Felipe Massa. He would stay with McLaren until the end of the 2012 season, when he was unable to get his second title. In what was a shock move at the time, he moved to Mercedes in 2013. He would win his second title in 2014 and his third in 2015. He would just miss out to teammate Nico Rosberg in 2016, but when Rosberg retired, he didn't receive as much competition for his new teammate Valtteri Bottas, and was able to win every title from 2017 to 2020. Lewis Hamilton is still competing in Formula 1 and has just signed a brand new 2-year deal for the Mercedes team. Lewis currently has 103 Formula 1 wins, 104 pole positions, 195 podiums, and 7 world titles. So there you go, that's the list of the top 10 future stars of F1 from 2003. Let me know what you think, if anyone was massively missing. I mean, the biggest name missing from there really, who wasn't competing in Formula 1 at the time, is probably Sebastian Vettel, although I think he just left karting in 2003, so he might not have been quite on the radar yet. But let me know what you think of this list here, and also, who do you think is going to be the next big star of Formula 1 in the next 20 years? Until next time, goodbye!